Hello and welcome to the Off-Meta Umineko Read-Along podcast, the bi-weekly podcast where I guide my friends and first-time readers through my favorite story of all time, the highly acclaimed murder mystery visual novel Umineko When They Cry. We'll be discussing its narrative and themes, and our community of theater-going witches will watch on vicariously as we try and solve its various mysteries. Hope you'll all join us in this exciting journey as we delve into the witch's cat box. I'm Kyle J, and joining me on this one-way trip to Rokkenjima, we have our readers, James Capelli, Hayley, Ben, and Becca. Welcome, y'all. So, how was the start of Episode 8, Twilight of the Golden Witch?
Weird. Very weird.
You're not asking us how was our read this week, which is very confusing.
Well, I mean, that'll be less true for next time. But...
Isn't that on brand for, this episode?
Yeah.
It feels like. I mean, I didn't think it was weird. I thought it was great. I really like Happy Kinzo.
It is weird.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
You could almost call it Twilight Zone-like. It's so interesting that this is Twilight of the Golden Witch because it is Beato's Twilight, as in the last episode of the series, but also, is Ange not in kind of her own Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, so I mean, did y'all have any expectations of what Episode 8 was going to be, really, before y'all jumped into this?
I learned to leave my expectations at the door at the end of Episode 1. Yes. The Tea Party Episode 1.
Honestly, for clarification purposes, because it has been so long. It's been so long since we recorded, since I was on a record, since we ended Episode 7. Did Byrne finish telling Featherine her story? Wasn't that last episode?
Yes. Yeah, Byrne finished demonstrating for Featherine, closed that up, Featherine left, and then said, I never actually got to make my own game. I only ever did the funeral and the tearing out of the guts. So now I'm gonna make my own cruel game.
I see.
But also at the same time, we had Battler in the chapel with Ange saying, I'm going to create this game for Ange. So there's kind of two conflicting ideas of what this game is supposed to be.
Sure, two kind of competing ideas, and we don't really know if there's a difference or what the difference is yet. Okay, got it. Thank you.
I have an idea of what I think might happen, which is that Battler's trying to present this world to Ange where her family's not as cruel and evil and bloodthirsty as she's been led to believe, and then I could see Burton Castle coming in and antagonizing that whole thing.
Yeah, we shall see. A lot of Episode 8 left to go.
Indeed.
I could see this being either of their games, because this would be exceptionally cruel if it was all ripped out from underneath.
Well, she doesn't seem to be believing it so far, so we'll see if things change.
Can you blame her?
No, yeah, it's a weird one. Episode 8 is a very strange episode. And not just in this part. You kind of got a glimpse of Capelli. You got a little bit of a glimpse of what was going to come later. But
yeah,
it is structurally a strange episode. Which it makes sense, because a lot of what the story has been up to this point has been completed. You could say that Umineko ended 4 or 5 times at this point. You could say it ended with the end of the 4th game. You could say it ended the 5th game in terms of Battler now knowing the truth. The 6th with the Battler Beatrice storyline kind of being wrapped up. 7 with the answers being revealed and Sayo's backstory, all that. And so we're finally left with what left is there to say in this story? And the answer to that is Ange, right? Ange has not gotten closure, has not gotten answers. This is kind of a parallel to the 4th game, which brought Ange in suddenly, and so now we are returning to finish with Ange as well.
Justice for my girl.
We had a bit of a hard time getting this recording going because a lot of us just couldn't or wouldn't get to the reading that we needed to do, right? Because the original plan was to get more than twice as far along.
Yes.
And I don't know about you three, but for me, I was like, I usually devour this shit. I can't wait to get the next reading. So why am I struggling to get started? And I was realizing we've had so many endings, right? You could say everything in the answers, or you could say each episode could have been an ending, exception to episode 5, maybe. So episode 4, 6, 7 ended in ways that could be potential endings to the whole thing. So I was like, I'm getting a little fatigued, a little burned out. Okay, but this time I know this will be an ending because we have mangas and theaters and animes.
Yeah, and this one's just kind of different, right? It's this episode is doing something. Not to say the other episodes weren't doing something, but I think of all the episodes, this one is the most doing something. So it's going to be really interesting to see what y'all think of it as we kind of get through it. It's contentious. A lot of people do not like this episode.
Do you?
I have mixed feelings on it. We'll see how I like it more in this route. It's not one I revisit often, because it kind of is outside of the bounds of some of the core story elements that I consider to be my favorite parts of Umineko. And of course, as you know, the end, which I've mentioned previously before, is devastating to me. So we'll see how opinions of mine change as we continue through this. And then y'all will be as caught up as I am in terms of having experienced all of Umineko.
Oh my god, so weird.
Barring, the manga, I guess.
I just want to put out that you guys have both said that you could say Umineko has ended. I have said multiple times Umineko has ended.
Yeah.
I am so vindicated yet again.
You said it before I said episode 4. You were like, no, episode 3, I'm done.
Hayley was ready for this to end over a year ago.
And she called it, right? Like, if we don't read episode 8, the episode 7 basically says that
incest, terrible things, evil family.
No, I mean, yes, we hit that. No, but the culprit is
Sayo?
No.
Kyrie.
Thank you.
Oh yes, Kyrie.
I don't know.
I didn't call Kyrie. Not initially. I called Kumasawa. I'm not claiming that one.
I'll kind of be on the other end of it, that I haven't felt like it really ended until last episode. Like that, all the rest of the other endings to me weren't ever complete. I could walk away from episode 7 with the knowledge that I felt I have enough information at this point. But I also have learned, especially through doing this, I am here for that reveal. That what I love in a murder mystery is seeing the detective talk about how this happened and to connect all the dots that you had been given for the entirety leading up to it. So to me, it wasn't complete until we got it. And even to me, the culprit is Sayo, not Kyrie, because it's, again, just one retelling of it. But what we've been looking at this entire time, to me, relies on Sayo being the culprit. And I think that's kind of part of it. But not to say that any other interpretation is necessarily wrong. It's just kind of how I see this story playing out.
I think I agree with that, Ben. And I think that's also part of the point of it being the witch's cat box, is that Kyrie being the culprit, Ava being the culprit, as is presented again in this episode, and Sayo being the culprit are all, feasible. So who's to say any of them is more true than the other?
Truth.
Yeah, I mean, as we kind of saw in episode 7, the entire situation was a powder keg.
Ha!
Something was going to happen.
Powder keg. I get it.
Meh.
And that's barring the 1 year later, 1 year earlier issue with, Sayo and Battler returning. It's just, this was not a good time for anybody involved, and there were guns, and there were explosives, and there were a lot of money involved. So something was going to happen.
I am fairly confident that episode 8 is going to end with a whole other plausibility.
Okay.
Right? Like, we get a very important point of exposition from Ange. Oh God, I hope I'm not jumping ahead a little bit. In which the first time she asked Eva what happened,
yeah,
it wasn't "I won't tell you," it's "I can't tell you." And to tie that back into who really is this Amakusa guy that was stalking her creepily in episode 7, 6 in her weird world with Featherine. I think just gonna build more credence to it being Battler as Amakusa, kind of watching out for her and striking up some sort of deal with Eva. That's just like, you can't tell her. You can say no all you want. I'm not buying this whole theory of, oh, he's just this mercenary who cares about her for some reason.
No, I don't. I think making Amakusa Battler would just be lame and cheap. Like, I just don't like that as a story choice personally. But also, I also don't think Amakusa is necessarily bad. I think he is balancing interests and he's like this morally ambiguous person that we still need to find out kind of where he lands. But ever since I figured out that the magic that Ange did on Rokkenjima to take out all of those Yakuza goons that were with Kyrie's sister, I forget her name off the top of my head.
It's not important.
But realizing that the magic she did, because they all started like violently, getting exploded and falling over, was Amakusa with a rifle from somewhere. I do believe that that's true. And so I do believe he is genuinely backing Angie up in certain circumstances. But again, who knows?
Yeah, but why? But why?
And in the conversation that they have at the end of episode 6,
because I think he's a good person.
It's implied that Okanogi hired him to basically take out both the Sumidera goons and potentially Angie as well to eliminate that entire thing all at once. So
I don't think he's a bad dude. I don't think he's evil. But it was written in a way that's meant to be menacing to make you think that there's something nefarious about this guy.
100%.
And I just see I just don't see it as, no, he's actually just some dude who cares. I don't see that lining up with how the author has written the story at all.
I think Amakusa is in it for Amakusa. Where that has him landing, I don't know yet. I'm very interested to see what plays out in this episode, considering that we have the competing interests of Byrne and Battler.
I'll tell you what it is. He is the original Beatrice's distant cousin who's trying to figure out what happened to all of that Italian gold. All right? That's the only other way I could see them fucking tying this in together.
Sure.
Oh, so what you're saying is he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
God, I really hope that's not true. That would be such a bummer.
I would
But it
be
could
so
be fun.
upset as well.
Could be fun.
Oh, but he's a Nazi with a heart of gold.
it's true.
No.
This is not the Sound of Music.
No.
This is not that.
These hills are not alive.
So are you moving away from the theory that Amakusa is Canon, Sayo adjacent? Or do you still think that's a possibility?
Yeah, probably leaning against that, but I still if it happens, I'm still gonna say I called it, you know?
Sure. That's fair.
I'm not taking my foot all the way out of the pool.
I mean, at one point, you did call it, so that would be fair.
At one point, I called there's gonna be lines, and I was right there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a slam dunk, that one.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, let's get to it. This week, we are starting episode 8, Twilight of the Golden Witch, with about 2 hours of reading. Ending on the line, I don't have a clue what Onii-chan is thinking. That is videos 134 to 136 of the YouTube playlist. If you've not caught up to that point yet, go ahead and stop the podcast and catch up before joining us, or if you're just listening to us along for the ride, welcome aboard. Now, we had originally planned to go a bit further in our reading, but this episode's kind of awkward in the way that it's structured, that we kind of either had to do a short reading or a very long reading. We ended up deciding to break this one up, and so it's going to be about 2 hours of reading this time, and then maybe 3 hours next time, because the section that we're about to get into after this is kind of its own thing, and we'll talk more about that later. Our story resumes in the chapel, with Battler and the young Angie clutching onto him, crying. Battler would never return from that day 12 years in the past, and Angie would never grow beyond the 6-year-old girl, even 12 years into the future. Battler gives Angie a large butterfly-shaped key on a necklace, and tells her that the time will come soon for her to use it to make a choice. Well, Angie wanted more than anything to know what happened on that day 12 years ago. Battler would not be telling her. Instead, he would allow her to go with him to Rokkenjima on that day, and afterwards, she could decide if she wants to stay there forever. Angie wants that more than anything, and tells Battler that that is her choice. But he tells her that she doesn't have to decide now, and while he may have a choice that he wants her to make, there is no right or wrong one, and he will respect her decision. All he wants her to do is listen to what he has to say, and to believe him. Angie notices a book on the chapel's altar that also has a butterfly motif, and asks Battler if that is what her key unlocks. However, this causes Battler to snap at her to not touch that. Realizing that he had scared her, Battler softens his expression and leads Angie out the door of the chapel and into October 4th, 1986. Welcome back, Angie. This will be the last time. I'm opening this game board one last time for you, Angie. And of course, it wouldn't be Umineko if it didn't have the most repetitive line possible. This game sometimes.
I did do a little squeal at baby Angie. She's so cute.
She's very cute.
I was very glad to get an actual sprite for baby Angie, because I hate
Kids.
I really wish they had sprites for every character, even if they just had one line. I don't like off-screen talking in this, and the fact that I can actually see baby Angie now is a lot better. It gives a lot more emotion, a lot more credence to what we're talking about.
The game is usually pretty good about that.
Yeah, they are. I'm also wondering if that book is either something Beato wrote, and that's why Battler's so protective of it, or if it's Byrne's influence, and he's like, no, you need to stay away from that. So now I'm very, curious.
Yeah, we have seen a book that's kind of similar to that at the end of the last episode, right at the funeral. There was the book that Battler had laid on Beatrice's chest, but it wasn't described quite like this one, I don't think.
The butterfly motif was definitely not described on that last one. And like the fact that it kind of matches her key. And also diaries have keys. So I wonder if it's like a diary and that's what her key is too. And anyway, we'll get there.
We once again find ourselves on the boat headed to Rokkenjima, with Battler screaming that he's going to fall. However, this time his screams of fear are joined by peals of laughter from his younger sister Ange, who's enjoying the jostling ship as if it were an amusement park ride. Rhea joins them, and everyone enjoys making fun of Battler's inability to handle the boat's speed. Rudolph and Curie are glad that Ange seems to be feeling much better, and that they did decide to go ahead and try and bring her here today. After all, this is the first time that all 5 cousins will have been together. Arriving at the island, they'll race up to the top of the long winding staircase to the Rose Garden. Just by adding Ange to the group, the day has become so much more energetic.
It's cute. I liked opening with Battler screaming. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yes. Yes. The line where it's like October 4th, 1986 always begins with Battler screams was really, really funny. Great stuff. Also, baby Ange essentially being Ricky Bobby. Like, gotta go fast. If you're not first, you're last.
I've really enjoyed the writing in this episode. Probably like stand out more than I have in other episodes where some of it, I don't know, it felt very natural in a way that I have felt like the other ones sometimes weren't. While like describing Ange there, like describing how this entire thing is going, it feels like the groove is there.
Yeah, I completely agree.
From a pure writing perspective, I'm not like nothing about the content, just like
interesting.
It felt very easy to read in a way that never felt repetitive, other than that line that we just talked about. But like, it felt like they kept it moving. Everything made sense of what they would talk about. Like, and I was just really impressed by the way that they opened this up because, like, we had been talking about how it was divisive, but I'm like, it's good storytelling. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that is intentional because now it's like supposedly Battler telling this story and he's a very casual person. So like it being this more kind of like laid back slice of life style of storytelling, I wondered if that was on purpose.
It's nice to have relationships being allowed to build on each other. Right? Obviously the main force of that is the dynamic between Battler and Beatrice. But you also have it with Battler and Ange. You have it with basically everybody who interacts with Beatrice and Kinzo. And you're able to see influence from previous episodes, not in the weird side metaverse, but just on the island, interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And they're just talking like natural family or natural couples or loved ones. And like, I adored the interaction between Ange and Eva, right? Because of all the implication of their two relationships building up to that point in the story, and just like, yeah, it feels like this has been what I think the story has been missing a lot of, is removed from contention and adversarial conflict what these characters mean to each other or what they could have meant to each other.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really special with book, being able to finally capture that here at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's broadly what this episode is about. How what we've seen before now is very artificial. Not to say that this isn't artificial. I think this is very artificial. But this artifice is kind of created to shine a light on the other artifice that had been assumed to be real before now.
Yeah.
It's showing the negative to prove the positive almost. I mean, that's kind of what Battler tells Ange later, is like, I'm showing you this specific thing so that you can figure something out, essentially.
Yeah. I just want to add on, before we get too far from it, to Ben's comment about the writing. I completely agree, and I was the biggest hater of the writing, I think, when we first started this. I don't know if it is just that, I mean, the more you write, the better you get at it, if it's just time or if it is intentional. I'd be curious to hear once we finished what the author, if any, they say anything about that. But yeah, it's very easy, very nice to read.
would be interesting to go back and take the different parts that were supposed to be written by different people and doing like a literary analysis of the writing styles to see if it is a noticeable change between those different subsets.
Yeah, but I mean, even episode 7 was just better written than the previous ones as well. Like, I do feel like we've just gone progressively better writing. And is that experience? Is it intentional? Maybe it's both. I don't know.
Would you like to hear a really stupid question that I thought of while reading this part?
Yeah.
Yes, always.
Do you think George coming last in the race was Battler editorializing?
I do.
Oh, that's
you gotta
so
think
funny.
he's the tallest and has the longest legs. Like, coming
losing
last.
to a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old is very funny to me.
Yeah.
A 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, excuse you.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm submitting to this George erasure.
And better than that, even after the asthmatic, he came.
Well, as we have established, Jessica's not really asthmatic, so.
No one really knows.
An asthmatic of convenience.
Yeah, I wonder if it is a commentary that, like, oh, George actually is not, a martial arts champion. He's actually, I think it's more fitting with the original art, because the original art for George is a little bit like huskier looking than George's other arts, which have him look much more fit. So I do wonder if that's more of like this actually is closer to the reality than the other things, is bringing up that George actually, would have trouble running up all those stairs.
And yet that one episode portrayed him as like a Tai Chi master.
Yeah.
Or a Muay Thai. I think it's more Muay Thai.
Yeah, he's Muay Thai. Muay Thai was one of the fighting styles he used. He's a mixed martial arts champion.
No, I don't need to think about George in UFC.
I like my Muay Thai with chicken, please. Thank you.
Shannon and Kanon inform Kraus and Natsui that the guests have arrived, and Kraus goes to inform Kinzo in his study. Dr. Nanjo is already there and informs Kraus that Kinzo is fretting, trying to find a necktie pin that has been misplaced. Apparently, Kinzo, who valued the dignity of the family head above all else, always made a big deal about being appropriately attired, always making a fuss when no one was looking. When the time comes, he makes his decisions with pride. In the kitchen, Goda has prepared pumpkin tea. He makes sure that Shannon tries some as well, so that she can answer any questions about it to the guests. As he and Kumasawa say, being familiar with the tastes of all sorts of foods is both a perk and a part of the job of a servant. Genji arrives to make sure everything is proceeding smoothly, and relays Kanon's phone message that the family is on the way to the mansion. I want to stop here real quick. I do think these two segments are really interesting as they're pretty direct subversions already. We get to see some interesting takes of Kinzo obviously this is the start of the look of Kinzo being different than he was in the previous games. But I love how the Dr. Nanjo is described as being like Kinzo's real wife, which is interesting.
Yes.
That killed me. I was like, oh, okay. So this has been going on? Kraus being like, why isn't Nanjo my mother? Literally.
Yeah.
I also, the whole Shannon and Kanon together in a scene. And not just the phone call, but actually in the room next to each other was
doing separate tasks and
yeah. That was something I was like, that's so interesting to me, because then they still answer Natsui in unison, but then later we see them being referred to separately. But whenever they're in the same room, they're kind of playing off of one another. So the ambiguity still exists, but it seems to be implying that they're separate now.
I think the implication is that they're able to be separate in front of Kraus and Natsui in this universe, right? That Kraus and Natsui accepts them as being different people, so therefore they could show up together there, potentially.
By the end of this read, they're in a massive ballroom with the entire family. It's two separate people.
That's next read. But
yes. Okay.
But yeah, I
spoilers.
Sorry.
You cheater.
It was about this point that I messaged Kyle with just, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely flying in the face of everything we've seen so far. This is not what we know to be true, and yet Battler says that this is truth, although he does not say it in red. Not that necessarily holds so much weight. But yeah, I also like that the callback to Shannon not having had the tea before from, I think it was episode 1, when she served the tea and Eva gives her shit for not knowing what's in it. It's like, oh, this could be poisoned. So we get to see some more smoothing over of the rough edges that were previously depicted in the previous episodes.
I think it's interesting because it's around this point where you realize that Shannon and Kanon are being presented as two separate people, and that Kinzo's been presented as the complete opposite of everything we were led to believe he was.
Mm.
And it's possible this is all just a delusion into an older sibling looking out for his kid sister. Or if you even want to go far enough to say, to the point where he wants to convince his sibling to not live her life holding on to anger and revenge.
Mm.
And is hey, everything you've been told might not be true because the people who are telling you could never know the inner workings of our family.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't there. And you're trying to imagine like just what that means for this girl, for this kid. And I think episode 8 is going to end where absolutely everything we've been told is questionable. Because at the end of the day, everything that happened on the island is a complete cat box because there's no evidence to any of it. The only thing we know for sure is that Maria is dead.
Yep, Maria's dead and Eva's alive. That's about it.
That's it. That's all that we know.
Krause and Natsui welcome everyone as they arrive in the parlor. Everyone's glad to see that Ange was feeling well enough to make it, and that even though Battler has gotten so big in the 6 years he's been away, he still remains himself. When Kyrie wonders if his fear of vehicles is from Asumu's blood, Rudolph says it was probably because they would always go a bit overboard on amusement park rides when the passengers can make them go as fast as they want. After all, as Ange says, Battler isn't afraid of riding things, he's afraid of falling off. Shannon arrives with the pumpkin tea and cookies, and everyone talks and laughs together for a while. However, when the sound of footsteps approaches, everyone stiffens up, knowing what is about to happen. Suddenly the doors burst open, and Kinzo declares to all present, "Happy Halloween and trick or treat!" Everyone returns the greeting, and begins exchanging gifts with Kinzo in exchange for not being pranked. Genji tries to help remind Kinzo to retain his dignity as the head of the family, but Kinzo simply loves his grandchildren too much to keep his dignified air and not spoil them. And she is shocked. This isn't the grandfather of her memories. Kinzo had always been a fickle, short-tempered, and stern-faced man. Did he really gleefully exchange hand-picked, heartfelt gifts with every member of the family every year?
This part really did do a number on me because I was like, Genji reminding Kinzo, like, him just being like, master your dignity. Like,
It was very funny.
It's very much like a comedic routine, yeah.
it's a good bit.
So I started reading this and I got to this part and I messaged Kyle. I said, everything is too happy. Everything feels wrong. I'm glad Andy acknowledges that something is just wrong. And like that's how I started off this reading. And I'm excited to tell you how I kind of progressed in this reading.
It's very moments before disaster coded. It is very like, this is too happy, too cute, too twee, and something absolutely fucking devastating and or terrible and or all of the above is going to happen.
Yep.
Kinzo's gonna blow up the island.
Just apropos of nothing.
Kaboom.
I just really think there's going to be a world where the explosion happened by accident.
No.
I'm going to fucking hate it.
This world can't be canonical unless there's an explosion, so. Although, to be fair, I'm not sure if Battler's really worried about this world being canonical, so.
Well, I think in a sense, he has to make it so that it is a possibility of what could have happened for Angie to ever possibly believe it. And therefore, it has to be canonical within the rules of the cat box, which is what this entire thing is talking about. The fact that Battler can create a story such that when you close the cat box and open it back up, all the pieces are back where they were, means that it could be the truth.
I mean, to me, it's just like, it's a lot of what I wish I would have had as a child, you know? Like, it's a lot of wishful thinking and a lot of what would be the most ideal or typical form of a family gathering who were all happy together. And even though they had all of this money tied up in it, they still respected and loved each other enough that that didn't matter. And like their love came first before their financial obligations and or potential gains. And I feel like that's something you can put inside the cat box of being like, this family was trapped on Rokkenjima together. It depends on the terms, I guess. I do literally have in my notes, though, that, like, Battler trying to make Kinzo a doting grandfather is so beyond the pale, considering everything we've ever gotten about him in every other version of this story. And that being the thing that really triggers Ange into thinking something's not right here, I think is very apt and true.
But it goes back to the whole thing of what Battler says, is that she never met the man, really. She doesn't know what he's like. The only thing that could be contrary to that is if Eva said anything about him, which we simply don't know if she did. It's just not something that's been said. Because everything that she's been told has been word of mouth from other people who knew him in a business sense, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Well, she had been to Rokkenjima as a child before this.
Yeah, but
right?
So at least at 5 years old, at the oldest.
No. Kinzo was dead last year, too. So she would have been 4 at the oldest when she met him last. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just going to say this because we could take this next thing I'm going to say and go on a fucking crazy tangent. That's not my point. I think one of the things that made me grow up and understand that I don't understand how the world works when I was younger was the idea that Hitler loved the little children within his family, and he doted on them. It is possible for evil pieces of shit to have the capacity to care about other people,
Sure.
which makes their atrocities all the more evil. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't someone in their life who didn't look up to them and love them. So it is possible that this version of Kinzo could have been real. Yes, it flies in the face of almost everything else that this story has done, and that jarring realization should shock you to the point of being like, something's up. But it, to me, should also make you think like, well, what if this is how it was? And he kind of used money to pit his children against each other because he thought that would help them grow. Now he's accepted I have to let go of that. Is it plausible? No, I'm not going to say it's the go-to thing, but we're talking about a lot of stories that like, well, 1 in 10 million chances of this happening, and here it is, it happened.
We've also seen Kinzo over a lot of periods of time, right? Like, it's been, I'm trying to think, when's the last time we've canonically seen Kinzo in the story? Like, the actual Kinzo. We know this is a thing that he really did.
Eva's flashbacks in episode 3.
When he dies in front of Sayo, I guess?
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't remember what the framing device is of the flashbacks we get of him and the original Beatrice back during World War II.
Right. Those are his memories, so they're a bit sus.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But again, we've seen a lot of this man's life. So, as Battler kind of claims here in a bit, that like Kinzo changed a lot over the years. He used to be, a lot more cruel to his children than he mellowed out in his later years. But again, that also might not be true. We don't that's kind of part of the question of this. It's like, yes, Ange's memories are uncertain enough that you could slip almost anything in there. Ange believed what she believed about Kinzo because of a few things she half remembered and a lot of stories that were told about Kinzo after the fact. Why not replace those stories with a kind story instead and have that interpretation of who Kinzo was? So
I think it's also just like she has parents who know him very well and who like maybe she wasn't a direct contact of Kinzo, but she probably absorbed a lot of things that they would say about him. So there's also that piece of it, but maybe I'm just very akin to Ange in this point where I'm like, I'm not willing to believe that. That is kind of a bridge too far for me. Like I can accept a lot of changes in this version of Battler's story, but it's the extent of it. You know what I mean? Like if he had been even just like cordial and nice, I would have been like, this is a little weird, but it's interesting and I don't not believe it, but it is the fact that he is so overt
in the other direction.
Yeah, like it's so.
And I think that it's intentional.
Yeah, definitely. Has to be. But yeah, I just can't believe it.
Battler has to have a strategy here.
Yes.
It has to have a purpose for doing it in this way.
Again, like what I said before, it's like showing the negative to prove a positive. Like he has to completely 180 it and make it the other end of the extreme for whatever purpose he has that we don't really know yet.
Yeah. All fascinating.
Lunch begins, and again, everything is perfectly harmonious and fun. No anger, no bickering, no talk of the inheritance or failures. Just a close family enjoying the one time a year they get to spend together and away from the difficulties of their own lives. Not even the news of the approaching storm can bring down the jovial atmosphere, as Kinzo relishes the opportunity to have everyone stay for an extra day. The only moment of discomfort is when it is brought up that Kinzo should consider moving to the mainland so that he can see his grandchildren more and for his aging health. But no, Kinzo's dream was to live in peace surrounded only by his family, and so he is satisfied. With lunch now over, Kinzo advises the grandchildren that they should take this opportunity to enjoy the sunny weather before the storm arrives, and so they all rush out to the beach in a race to find glass gems. On the sunny beach, the cousins all play together, talking, laughing, and collecting bits of glass that have washed ashore. As the wind begins to pick up, they start to head back towards the rose garden, but Ange still seems to be out of sorts. Everyone splits up, planning to meet back up in the cousins' room later, and Battler hangs back in the rose garden to talk to the upset Ange alone. Ange asks Battler, where is this supposed to be? This clearly can't be the Rokkenjiima of October 4th, 1986. It's nothing but a pack of lies. Battler simply says that he doesn't lie. He asks Ange what it is about this that she doesn't like, and Ange immediately replies that the real Kinzo was never like that. They never celebrated Halloween or exchanged presents. Battler quietly replies, don't you remember, Ange? We did that every year, didn't we? But it's no surprise that she doesn't remember. After all, the last time she herself attended a family conference, she wasn't even 6 years old yet. While Shirmiya Kinzo had indeed been a strict and occasionally violent father to his children many years ago, the short-tempered, bold, fickle, incomprehensible man was nothing more than the face he had showed the outside world in his business dealings. In private, with his family, he was much more like the doting old grandfather depicted here. Battler asks Ange if she remembers any of the many times he must have patted her head, and while she does recall that happening at some point, she rationalizes it away as having been a mere whim of the fickle Kinzo. And even if she does remember stuff like that happening sometimes, she knows she remembers being told by her parents that grandfather is scary, and so she should take care, and seeing him yelling in anger once she could never forget. But Battler explains that those are just the misconstrued impressions of a young child that didn't know how to connect with her eccentric grandfather. Ange had merely let those feelings grow into a false impression of who the man had really been. Did Ange really not remember Kinzo's love of Halloween? How could a man who loved the West and the occult not celebrate Halloween? That Ange doesn't remember that is proof that her memories are not as solid as she believes. Ange argues back that, regardless of Kinzo, there's no way the family conference would have been that congenial. After all of the adult siblings were in money trouble and hungered for Kinzo's inheritance money. But Battler challenges that as well. After all, where did Ange ever hear that from? Certainly not from actually seeing her parents or any of the other adult siblings bringing up their businesses or finances in front of the children. No, all of that had come out in the years since, after the public began scouring every scrap of information searching for a grand conspiracy. While these may indeed be facts, that doesn't make them the truth of what her family and that day were actually like. Ange refuses to believe that everything she thought she knew about her family may have been wrong. After all, this is just a game created by Battler himself. In all the witches' games so far, she had fought against their deceptions and relentlessly sought the truth. Now they had sent their final assassin to finish her off, her own brother. Battler agrees on one point, though. This is indeed his game, a tale full of fiction that he created himself. Ange is furious at Battler. Why is he lying to her? Why won't he just tell her the truth? To which Battler simply says, because there's something more important that I need to get across to you. Ange refuses to believe that there's something more important than the truth, and Battler replies that the purpose of this game is to help her to understand that. But Ange refuses that framing. If this is a game, then Battler is using the witch's illusion to keep her from uncovering the truth. If he won't tell her, then she will remove herself from this game and allow her peace to act on its own. More important than the truth, she scoffs. There's no such thing. Battler somberly replies that there is. Whether this tale is the truth or not, the fact remains that Ange lost something precious on this island that day, besides just her family.
So I'm kind of convinced that Battler has this image of Ange in his mind as the 6-year-old that he left behind. Like, I don't think he conceives of her as an adult person. And we've seen her in this episode being like her 18-year-old self in her 6-year-old body, almost, because she knows things that her 18-year-old self knows.
Sure.
And, you know, she goes away and her eyes glaze over and whatever.
Yeah, when she's controlling her piece, whether she's or when she's not controlling her piece, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But he did meet adult Ange, so I don't know. I don't know what his kind of purpose is with this. And I am very intrigued by there's something more important than the truth, because much like Ange, I am a person who's like, I don't care how bad it is. I want you to tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So I very much sympathize with her on that point. And I think Ange would do really well in the Matrix, in the real world of the Matrix. Anyway.
Throw a sick rave in a cave, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get real technical, we can go back to episode 1 and say, is this fantasy or mystery? right? Is it magical or not? Battler's dead. This is not actually happening. So it's all in Angie's head. That she is we're basically seeing this play out in inner turmoil where she's trying to convince herself to let go of this. Right? The fact that she's in the car talking to Amakusa and she's like, well, Battler's trying to show me this, she thinks to herself, is a crazy thing to try to place in context of the story.
I don't hate that. I kind of like that.
I mean, but that's what this story does, is it presents enough of these dangling threads of possibilities, allows you to chase them for however long you want, as we've been doing for 2 years, and kind of come up with your own rationalizations. Could it be that thing? Could it be that way?
Yeah, I mean, we've recontextualized the entire story several times, right? As we've learned new information, we've been like, oh, this is, a time loop. Oh, there's this meta world where Battler's fighting, which, oh, this may be fan fiction written after the fact. Like, yeah, we're already pretty far from where we started in terms of what the story is.
I would like to touch back on this when we get more toward the end when Amakusa comes in, because I feel like the revenge conversation has a lot maybe to do with what Battler is implying here.
It's a good one. Yeah, this entire episode's full of very heavy, a lot of themes in this episode for sure.
Yeah. What do we think that Battler would think is more important than the truth? Is it just love again?
Again, can we come back to this when we get to the revenge part?
Okay, fine.
Because it all ties into that, and I want to get to it when it's relevant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get you.
No, that's fine.
I have some thoughts, but I'm willing to hold.
All right, let's continue then. Angie steps away from the game, and her piece is suddenly confused as to why they're standing out in the rose garden as the storm blows in. Angie wants to head inside, but Battler says that he needs to wait for someone who should be arriving at any moment. With a gust of wind that seems to be carrying flecks of gold to Angie's eyes, Beatrice appears at the far end of the rose garden. Battler and Beatrice greet each other with a hug and banter about how she should join them sometimes on the boat to Rokkenjima occasionally. At first, Angie is suspicious of this strange woman calling herself the witch that her parents had warned her would steal her away if she misbehaved. However, she begins to warm to Beatrice, given how friendly she and Battler seem to be. When Beatrice notes the key that Angie wears as a necklace, Battler explains that it is Angie's precious key, which Beatrice seems to immediately understand. Beatrice too confirms that Angie's key and the choice of what to do with it are hers and hers alone. Battler and the rest of them are merely signposts to guide her on her path. Angie's expression of suspicion that the witch will try and steal her key makes Beatrice laugh, and she assures Angie that magic makes sure that no one can steal it from her. However, Angie is dubious at the existence of magic, despite Beatrice, Battler, and even Maria's insistence. She demands that Beatrice show her some magic, and Beatrice agrees. Beatrice shows her left hand is empty, and then has Angie follow it closely along with her eyes as she brings her hand up, down, left, and right over and over again. When she finishes, she opens her right hand to reveal a piece of candy that was summoned with her magic. Angie is still hesitant to believe in magic, but she can't see how there could have been any trick since she'd been watching Beatrice's hand the whole time. Beatrice then heads into the mansion to go pay her respects, and Battler and Angie decide to tag along as well. Kinzo welcomes Beatrice and Battler in the VIP room, and the three smile and joke around while Angie watches on uncertainly. Genji arrives with Kraus and Natsuhi, who likewise happily greet Beatrice. It would seem that Kinzo has brought all of them together for a conversation of some importance. Battler goes to stay out of the way, with Angie, who clutches him tightly. Beatrice implies that Angie must be jealous that she is stealing the affections of her precious brother, but Battler, so bad at understanding women's feelings, fails to notice. Kinzo, Kraus, and Natsuhi all give thanks to Beatrice / her grandmother for lending the Yoshimiya family the gold they used to rebuild their fortune. However, it was now time for that lent gold to be returned to Beatrice. Beatrice asks Kraus if he's okay with this, but both he and Natsuhi agree that this gold belongs to her, and they will simply have to make their family thrive with their own efforts. Beatrice, unable to refuse the payment of their debt, reluctantly accepts. Kinzo also declares that he'll be distributing his inheritance while he is still alive, and begins to dictate the terms of this disbursement to Kraus and Genji. Battler, recognizing this part of the conversation is not for him, goes to talk to the morose Beatrice. With the gold being returned, she might now be rich, but she is no longer needed. This is the last game. The time has come for the Witch's Island to awake from her magic. While the two of them had woven many games for each other as a part of their endless torture, this game was not for them. This game is for Angie, to give her the opportunity to see what is truly inside of the cat box, and carry that story with her into the future as the final witch. Angie is indignant that Battler is trying to chase her out so soon after she finally made it to this day, after so many years of suffering. She doesn't want this happy fairy tale. She just wants the truth. The 2 message bottles that Beatrice wrote that were uncovered detailed a series of grisly occult murders. So there's no way that the real Beatrice would just casually appear and chat like this. Beatrice laments that only 2 of her message bottles were ever found, leaving her masterpiece, Land of the Golden Witch, to never be read. While some of them were indeed written like the classic murder mystery novels that had inspired her to cast them out to sea in the first place, Beatrice had written all sorts of possible tales that she had wished to share with Battler. That her careless actions had seeded such a toxic narrative that continued to torment Ange to this very day is Beatrice's sin, and the reason for this final tale's existence. However, Ange refuses to acknowledge this farce, that any of this could be called truth, and once again allows her peace self to regain control. Beatrice says that while yes, this tale could not possibly be true, Battler made it despite that, to convey something important to Ange. Beatrice stays to iron out the details of the inheritance with Kinzo and Kraus, and as Genji escort Battler and Ange back to the guest house. On the way back through the Rose Garden, Genji confirms to Battler that Kinzo had indeed planned to do something like this for some time, and tonight there will be a grand Halloween party to celebrate the return of the gold.
So, to me, the acknowledgement here that this Beato is the grandchild of the original Golden Witch Beatrice,
Mm-hmm.
I took that as implication that Kinzo is still who he is. Because how else would this version of Beato exist as a grandchild of the original Beatrice?
Sure.
And also her literally being like, well, yeah, it's not true, but he's trying to show you something. So maybe listen is way more palatable to me than like, this could actually be true.
Yeah. I mean, canonically, Kinzo is dead, so if we're using the cat box at all, we must know that this cannot be true. So we are definitely in at least some degree of fiction here.
How do we know?
Oh, that is a fair. I mean, we have the red truth.
Like, why
right?
I ignore it. I'm ignoring red truths. I'm looking from an outside perspective into the cat box of what it must be when it goes in and what it must be when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, there's nothing that would say that Kinzo was dead for sure.
There was no death certificate. They were hiding it forever. The people that knew technically were all on the island that then left. Like, there's nothing in writing outside of the cat box that ever says that Kinzo died before the cat box happened, which is kind of what I'm going with. Like, the fact that this technically could all be true, in a sense that the only parameters we have to hit is what goes into the cat box and what comes out.
Right. You can make the case that this is not using the same, like, Beatrice's game construction. This is using the broader Ange's perspective on the cat box to construct this tale.
That's kind of what I'm going for and why this could be a truth, because there's no way to know the real truth.
Yes.
At least from what we've been given so far.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Ben. I don't know that I just accept it all.
I can't really argue that because the point of it is the ambiguity, right? The point of it is like all of it can be true and all of it could be untrue depending on what you personally enjoy and or believe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like the fact that we know that at least this Beato is the grandchild of the original Beatrice implies to me that she was sired the same way.
Sure.
That Kinzo still sucks.
Yeah.
At the very least, even if he's alive, even if he's a doting grandfather now.
I agree with you there. I think what I'm trying to say is like truth is what I've been learning through this entire thing is like truth does not matter. Like now.
It doesn't exist.
It's the
truth doesn't exist.
The feelings that are left behind matter a lot more because if we're looking at episodes 1, 2, and 4, we know those can't have actually happened in Ange's world. Ava died in those, and yet she was alive and raised Ange. Like, so we know where they came from. We know they were actual fabrications. Like, so I'm just trying to wrap my brain around, like, what is truth in the sense of what Ange is looking at right now? And the answer is, if it went into the cat box and came out of the cat box such that everything stayed the same, anything could have happened there that was realistic.
Except that in Ange's world, those other versions are rationalized away.
Yes.
By Sayo being like, oh, those are just practice tests brain puzzles, you know?
I just want to point out, Becca, you were saying that how can the Kinzo be this doting grandfather when he's also a person that raped his own daughter? But those things are absolutely be true. together in the real world.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
No. I believe that both those things can be true of the same person. I just don't buy it. Like it's one of those, it's just one of those things. Like, I think there is enough context around Angie's life that Kinzo being so overtly doting and overtly
Mhm.
like it's the again, like I said, it's the extent of it.
Yeah.
Like, if he were more mediated about it, I guess, like
Yeah.
less extreme, but still like a very gracious host, still a very doting grandfather who's happy to see all of his grandkids.
Mhm.
Sure, but to be like bursting in like happy Halloween and Genji having to remind him of his dignity.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is probably in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Battler is showing the opposite end of the spectrum that is theoretically possible with what Angie knows.
exactly.
Angie's like, I assume this is true because it's based on the facts that I was told everyone has assumed after the fact. And Battler's like, well, what about these facts, right? Like, you can also make this entirely complete opposite interpretation, and it's just as valid, right? Like, it's equally as possible. It's just not, as likely, maybe. So it probably is somewhere in the middle. Like, did Kinzo have regular Halloween parties? Maybe, right? I mean, that could also just be a rhetorical trick from Battler to be like, what, you don't remember his Halloween parties, Angie? That means that your memories are all lies. Super gaslighter Battler. But it could be true. We don't know how much of this is a trick from Battler's part, or if he's genuinely being like, don't you remember these things, Angie? Your memories are faulty, but these things are in fact true, or at least are resonant with the truth, I think, at the very least.
I don't want to say he's trying to call him faulty. He's talking to a person who would have the memory of a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's trying to bring to Angie's attention that things she believes are true memories are probably constructions based on years of misinformation and malicious misinformation.
Yeah.
From people who are looking at this with a very unkind eye.
Yeah.
My last thing is, Beato literally has a line in this section where she says, the grandchild part's a bit of a killjoy. So, I don't know. He may be a very happy, doting grandfather in this version of the tale, and that may still be true, but I'm still on the fuck Kinzo train. That guy sucks.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up.
Ah, thank you.
Because it leads right into what I wanted to say, which is I have a bit of an uncomfortable question for you all, which is that we're talking about Kinzo and his sins, which I think fits a sin way more than whatever Battler fucking supposedly did.
Oh, yeah.
But do you forgive somebody who has supposedly committed this atrocity if they've turned their life around to become a loving and supporting person? Probably not. But what if the person who is the closest tied victim to that sin has already forgiven them? Because the way that this Beatrice is conversing and spending time and laughing with this guy implies that she has moved on.
That's her choice.
So how do you rationalize? How do you take that as a person to be like, well, this person has clearly done some messed up evil shit?
I will say that this is actually kind of a common thing to a degree, where the person who has been aggrieved has the option to forgive, right? And often that forgiveness is a choice that is made for their own sake, right? It's not really like, I mean, a lot of people say they forgive, but really it's more like, I'm just not going to give you control over my life anymore kind of forgiveness.
And I have to move on past this. I can't let you. Yeah.
And often you'll see the other people in their life can't do that.
Yeah.
It's hard to forgive on someone else's behalf.
It's impossible.
And if you want a real world allegory to this, because unfortunately this does happen, but like Mary Kay Letourneau and the student that she had an affair with and then ended up marrying and having several children with, like, he didn't blame her for a very long time, and he was a fucking teenager when she groomed him, essentially. And from what we know, whether or not it's true, because Catbox, right, is that every version of Beato was essentially, like, with the exception of the original, was groomed by Kinzo. And, they can have that capacity for forgiveness, but, like, I have those people in my life where it's like, I have friends of mine who have forgiven abusers or, bad exes or whatever. And me personally, as their friend and person who cares about their well-being, is like, fuck that guy. If that guy ever tries to like come near you again, I'm going to be throwing hands, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, even if the person that was the victim can apply forgiveness to their abuser, I don't think that means anything on the abuser's part. There are abusers who reform, but that is shown in different ways other than just their victim forgiving them. And we haven't seen any of that from Kinzo so far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this episode's kind of implying that maybe some of that happens, but again, that's all hidden from anything we've seen. We really have not seen anything like that. Also, I want to note that Beatrice is a meta character, so like she's acting kind of above the board in a lot of ways. Her forgiveness of Kinzo might just be because she is not like the same. Like she's been through all this stuff involving with Battler and all that kind of stuff. She's kind of above the concerns of the board itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, possible.
She's moved on. Yeah.
So I think, so Capelli, your question was, how do you reconcile that? You don't have to. You don't have to. The two things can exist. You don't have to. If somebody else has forgiven them and you're still angry at them, like, that's okay. You don't have to reconcile it at all. You can feel different ways about different people, and like maybe it changes your opinion of the person who was initially the victim. Maybe it changes your whole dynamic and relationship, and maybe that's what you have to reconcile. But in terms of like, do you have to reconcile forgiveness? No, you don't have to. It's all so personal and such an individual choice that there's no right answer to that. Like, should you forgive somebody who's truly reformed and turned themselves around? You don't have to, but you can if you want to. Like, it's a tough thing, but yeah.
I think that was well said.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, do you want to do this last bit, and then we can talk more about revenge and other things that Battler might be trying to say?
I would love nothing more.
As her piece drifts off to sleep, Ange returns to the present day of 1998. Talking once again to Professor Ootsuki, the premier Rokkenjima witch hunter, she confirms that rumors had existed for some time that Kinzo had a time bomb ready to go off at midnight as a tool to bring himself mad inspiration in times of great need. That the Rokkenjima explosion incident had occurred at exactly midnight seemed to confirm these rumors to be true. Ange had hated these witch hunters used her family's tragedy as a playground. Unfortunately, they were the most knowledgeable about the facts of the incident. Professor Ootsuki lays out the case that Eva could have known of the existence of this device and the hidden mansion of Kuadoria, and used them to cover up her murders to secure the entire inheritance for herself. Ange muses that this did seem the most logical explanation, given that Eva refused to say what really happened on that day. However, Ange's true goal now is not to find out what really happened on that day, but to expose Eva's crimes and have her revenge. When Ange tells this to Amakusa, he scoffs. He tells Ange that while people fighting for revenge can be strong, they are often used and thrown away by those willing to teach them to point a gun at their shared enemy. Amakusa warns Ange not to become like those child soldiers who, once they can no longer kill for revenge, just live to kill because that is all they know. When exposing the truth proves impossible, what will Ange have left but her hatred for Eva? Tired of Amakusa's strange and cutting advice, Ange tries to go to sleep, wondering what Battler is trying to tell her with this farce of a game. And that brings us to the end of this week's reading.
That one scene really cemented to me just how young and naive Ange is.
Oh yeah, she's a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, but like you've got Maria at several points of the story doing crazy shit for a 9-year-old. Crazy shit. You've got a lot of people just not acting their age. You've George, say less. You just like, you've got this supposed 17, 18, 19-year-old Sayo concocting these crazy, intricate worlds in her head and whatever. I feel like this is the most humanizing scene for almost any of the characters throughout the game.
Isn't she great?
Just that little detail of this guy's asking me questions and make me think things I don't want to think about, so I'm just gonna Gen Z stare and go to sleep.
I would like
stare.
Gen Z stare. I would. If she's 18 in 1998, that makes her. Is that end of Gen X or early millennial?
She's the very, very early millennial.
Yeah.
My husband is
No way, really?
Yeah.
I do want to say, because I thought this line was so poignant and I would like to read it directly, but the version in my version of the reading,
Sure.
one of the lines Amakusa has about the revenge is, eventually, your reason for living stops being revenge and becomes the means you use to try and take it. It's sad, really. And Ange is definitely caught up in that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
God, I fucking love Amakusa.
Mm-hmm.
He's the best. I was so happy. I literally screamed when he appeared. I was so happy to see him again. I cannot even describe, but it's really good. And it didn't occur to me until we started literally recording this episode and Kyle was reading the section earlier. But the part where Battler is like, I made this because you lost something precious on this island that day besides just your family. And with the context of this revenge conversation that comes at the very end, that really got my gears turning in terms of, what did Angie lose? And was it her innocence, her ability to move on? Is it metaphorical or is it more literal? But like, she has lost so much because ever since that happened, her entire life has been dictated and or dedicated to it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
She has lost her freedom. She has lost her ability to connect with any other people. She has lost a lot. So I don't know exactly what Battler is referring to here, but I do think a lot of it has to do with her being bent on revenge, and bent on a revenge that she can't really prove either. None of us can really prove. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But I think Ben also had thoughts on that from earlier.
Yeah, I really just want to ask the question, but how good is that monochrome clock song though? Because like that was bopping. I loved it.
Yes, I put it in my notes. I was like, this slaps.
What, you like him, Zaki?
I was, I did get out my saxophone and start playing it just to try to figure out the rhythm.
I'd make you play sax.
I got a degree in playing saxophone.
How did I not know this about you?
Alto was my main, but soprano was my secondary. It's right here.
Oh my God.
For all the podcast viewers.
Very cool.
I was a clarinet player, so tenor, B flat for me.
Yeah, I
but
love
that
that
for you.
song. I thought it was a great way to transition from the game board back to this, like, and just reintroduce Amakusa's character. And then, like, the whole discussion afterwards when they physically turned it down, I'm like, oh, this is a song, like, in canon, in the...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, love that. I love when they break the fourth wall like that. It was
When
so good.
It's called diegetic music.
Yeah.
It's like in a movie when somebody's actually literally listening to
Oh,
something.
I see
It's
what you mean.
diegetic.
Yes, I've definitely heard that before, but yes. That's mostly what I wanted to say. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't just brush over the fact that Monochrome Clock is one of the best songs ever.
It's a banger for sure.
We need to make sure it gets its due. I do think I agree with everyone on what they've said so far in terms of revenge, in terms of Angie just kind of being stuck in like her own head because of everything that's happened, not necessarily due to her, but just due to the circumstances that surround her. But she was not able to develop like a normal human being because abnormal things happened to her that basically threw that a whole wrench into that. So
Yeah, the whole trajectory of her life is like changed just based on this one incident, and that's very much the case for a like victim of any kind of trauma, right? Like everything changes, and the what ifs and all of that kind of come back, and you either deal with them or you don't, and maybe you get a bit bitter and twisted up inside. And I think that's probably the path that Angie is on and has been on for a long time, unfortunately.
Yep, and Beatrice kind of apologizes to her, like, in this, and accepts a lot of culpability for what has happened to Angie's life because of her choice to make those message bottles that spun into this big, grand conspiracy mystery that amped up what this incident maybe was to be. Like, I doubt Beatrice was like, you know what? I bet in 12 years they're gonna have conventions about this. Like, there's just no way that was something that she would have even considered as a possibility. And that definitely has contributed massively to making this a thing that Angie cannot escape from.
It's very sad. Tis a true tragedy. It's not a mystery. You asked us the wrong question at the beginning, Kyle.
Yeah.
I've been saying.
Yes,
I've been saying.
you have been saying.
I'm still holding out for sci-fi for Capelli.
We ain't
Tragic
at the
sci-fi.
end credits yet. We ain't at the end credits, right?
It can be a sci-fi tragedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Space opera.
I do love Angie. And Angie's been kind of a tragic character since she showed up.
Yeah.
And
yes.
if I wanted like a neat little bow or something to leave me feeling good at the end of all of this, I would hope that this episode ends with her coming to some sort of an acceptance and being able to move on with her life as the only surviving member of the family.
Sure.
Because regardless of whatever else is true, we do know that she is currently the only surviving Ushiromiya.
Sure.
So I would like to see her be able to heal and move on from this as like the one person who got to escape it. Even if it's she technically escaped it, but it's been torturing her whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, because I mean, she kind of gets added right at the end of episode 3, episode 4. She's kind of this kind of out of nowhere character that and only is in that part, right? She's not in like a lot of the rest of the. She kind of pops in a little bit, but she's a character that's been very much on the outside of a lot of the heart of the story, and so it's good that she's getting her due. I think she's a character that's it depends on which episodes you prefer. Some people don't like Angie's stuff as much as other parts of the story, which I think contributes to this episode being possibly more contentious because it is so Angie focused. But we've already wrapped up the core of the mystery side of things. We've also wrapped up largely like a lot of the heart of the mystery, and so now we're looking at the broader context of this story. So
those people are wrong. And they,
Yes.
They just
yes.
are.
Agreed.
Angie is such a she like gives us that strong character presence of what it's actually like to be a victim of trauma, of a trauma that you had no say in or control over whatsoever, because I mean sometimes you can kind of traumatize yourself with some of the choices that you make, right? But this was completely out of her control. So the fact that she is only in little bits of the story and we only but then suddenly we get a lot of her, that's kind of how it feels to survive something like that. It's like you can live your life and then you can't, and you're just kind of looking at it from the outside and like being, these things happened to me. And then you try and live your life again. And, these things, then it like creeps back in again and you get flashbacks and like, you just like it. She is like a representation of what it is like to live with unresolved trauma, to my read and understanding of her anyway.
Interesting. And that's probably intentional. I mean, Rikishi is like, he was decently knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he saw Angie as being the real heart of the story, not just a framing device. And that's why so much of the ending is devoted to her story. So.
Yeah, maybe.
I do think she is the heart of the story. Like, I care about her so much, despite some of her sections of the story being the most draggy and kind of morose and hard to get through.
And she shares that with Maria.
Yes. But I also think what's so interesting about her character is that when we first meet her, when she first shows up and she's telling Battler not to give in and she's telling him that this is all a farce, and she's like, you have to keep fighting, you have to keep battling the witch because you're Battler. But she seems so competent, right? When we first meet her, she is so much more headstrong and decisive and sure of herself than Battler is. But now we're seeing her in this position where she doesn't know what's true, and also she's going down this path that is clearly extremely destructive and can't even be proven true. Like she decided Ava is guilty and she wants her revenge, and that's all she's hell-bent on.
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't know, girl. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. she's very clearly comfortable with the rules of the game, of the structure of it, that kind of stuff. She excelled in that regard. But now that we're saying, like, actually all of that was fake. Like, the truth is so much messier than that and may not exist at all. And she is floundering. That is not how her brain works, right? That's just not the paradigm that she functions under.
I'm on Angie's side here. Like, I don't disagree with her about all of the Kinzo stuff being so outlandishly absurd that it's like, you expect me to believe this shit? Are you for real right now? Kind of attitude. But at the same time, I'm also like, I don't think you're making the most informed decisions here in the real world, in the quote unquote real world. I don't fucking know anymore.
Who even knows at this point, right?
Yeah.
We're going to zoom out again, and it's like, oh, this is a manga written by some other person.
Yeah. So,
I can't wait for that one level zoom out of going from this is all a video game visual novel to this is really just a manga that you're watching in the form of a visual novel.
The fighting game is actually the most canonical version of
which
it
is
all.
also a video game, which is also secretly like a Danganronpa character or something.
I'm ready.
Oh boy.
Give me Danganronpa, man.
So we are going to have a big conversation about Danganronpa later because there's a part that,
yes, I want to do a podcast about Danganronpa 2X2 whenever that comes
That's
out.
so great because I recently watched this incredible YouTuber essayist recap all of the Danganronpa games so I don't have to play them myself.
Oh, nice.
And it was very informative.
Oh, they're so good.
I don't have it in
sometimes.
me. I'm sorry. I love that for you. I don't have it in me, but I did very much enjoy listening to this YouTuber tell me about it.
That's fair.
You are the person listening to this podcast who has not read the book at all, just following along.
Yes. But I want to hear what Hayley was going to say before, especially if it's a downer. Give me a downer.
Yeah. How do we want to wrap up this episode, Hayley?
Oh my God, no, we're not going to wrap it up. We haven't heard from Capelli. He's going to have to tell us something sci-fi to bring us back up again. So, Kyle, you were saying that, like, she is experiencing all this turmoil because of learning that maybe that she doesn't know what's true and what's not, and how do you deal with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's kind of part of, this is just from what I personally know. I'm really not an expert in trauma.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of part of the healing process. Like, you have to kind of face some things that are going to make you feel really uncomfortable to actually get to a point that you could potentially become healthy. So, yeah, even the story doing that, it does kind of, I think you might be right that maybe she is the heart of this, what happens after. Like, that's the story of Umineko. It's not actually about the family that died and the murder mystery and all of that. It's what happens after.
100%. I agree with that.
What happens after is your estranged aunt tries to murder and kill you and take your fortune. Obviously. So what do? You jump out of skyscraper with.
Oh my God!
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Classic.
I like it. Yeah.
Come on, kids. I couldn't write a self-help book better if I tried.
Man, I can't wait to see how your kids grow up, Valley.
You know what? That's a very Matrix thing of her to do. Again, just saying, just putting it out there.
Bringing it back around.
Oh boy!
All right. Any final thoughts before we go into next week's reading? So next week we'll be finishing the remaining 3 hours of reading we originally planned for this episode. Ending on the line, surely she was reliving that fun evening once more in her dreams. And this video is 137 and 138 of the YouTube playlist. And for those playing along at home, know that the cake slice choice doesn't matter, but you do need to get the correct answers to everything else to get all the story scenes. So, just let me know.
I was literally going to ask you that exact same question later.
So yeah,
What?
enjoy.
Wait, what?
Cake slice.
So glad I don't have to worry about this
will
as a
make
dirty
sense
YouTube watcher.
very quickly, Ben.
Yeah.
It makes sense very quickly. This next reading is fucking wild. It's weird, man.
Is this when
It's
it
a very
finally becomes a
strange-
game?
Yes.
And for those playing along at home, I didn't even read this. I don't know what this is referring to.
It'll all
my
become
God.
clear.
No, that the
Once you get
cake
to the Halloween
slice
party.
choice doesn't matter, but you do need to get the correct answers for what?
No. need to get the correct answers, but getting all the correct answers is important.
It
Okay.
says you need to.
I quit.
Don't worry about that.
Everyone needs to get the correct answers. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about different things next time. You'll not have all the
What
info.
does that
So.
mean?
I'm not
What
reading a
the
walkthrough.
fuck?
I'm not reading a
I'm
walkthrough.
playing.
All right, well, then we'll see which which parts. I guess at least Becca will have all the scenes. We'll see.
I have finally made a second save file on my game.
Yes.
Is all I'll say.
I recommend you save a lot in this next
I've been
part.
doing that the entire time. I went through the entire save files.
Me too.
Yeah, there's two people who make saves. It's either one save file or you fill out like all 99 of the save files.
That's what I did. I was second.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Me
guess,
too, Ben.
Ben, it sounds like you need to save after whatever the cake slice choice is.
I don't know what that even means.
You'll find out, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
I think at one
Oh.
point, way early on in the series, I posted a picture of that cake as like it's like something that comes up way later with no context. It's a picture of a cake.
Oh, Kyle.
So you've already started this Capelli? Like parts of it?
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, maybe there's a world where we actually will do the full reading that was originally intended. And I think I asked Kyle a question, and he's like, you've gone too far. I was like, oh, should I stop? And he didn't say yes, but he said it was up to you. But he said it in a way of like, yes, please stop. And I was like, okay.
Well, I can't wait to get to cake slices, I guess. I have nothing else to do tonight.
Yeah, enjoy. It's a fun segment. It's very strange. It's doing something. As I said, this episode is full of parts that are definitely doing something.
Doing something.
What that something
my
is up to
God.
interpretation, I guess. We'll see. We'll have lots to talk about.
I need to get the correct answers for everything else. For everything else to get all the story scenes.
That's evil.
If you don't want to look up a walkthrough, feel free to crowdsource. Like, message us in the chat. Some of us will probably
Let's
remember.
dive into the spoilers chat. Surely the answers will be there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I can't wait to read that
I
spoilers
mean, we're all
chat.
going to read it by next episode anyway.
We're getting close. We still can't go in there. You definitely have to finish the story before you can go into there.
Really? Even now? Oh my God.
You would be upset if you saw some of the stuff talked about in there.
Haley and I
Oh,
are like
boy.
wasting away. I just want to go in there so bad. I want to go in there so bad.
I'm so totally here
It
for
beckons
it.
to me every day with the Green Goblin voice.
All right. Well, if you get reading, then you'll be able to get to there sooner. So thanks for joining us, and remember to think off meta.